There's a really serious crisis unfolding in Texas, much of it happening behind closed doors. Domestic violence is surging at an alarming rate, and advocates are sounding the alarm that the systems meant to protect people are at a breaking point. So today, we're going to break down what's driving this trend and what it might take to fix it.
Okay, let's just start with this number, 26%. That's how much reported domestic violence incidents have jumped in Texas since just 2019. This isn't some small uptick. It's a staggering increase that points to a massive and growing problem.
And you know, a number like that, it's so much more than just a statistic. Behind that percentage are thousands of real lives being turned upside down, and it's putting a strain on the entire support system, pushing it to its absolute limit. So the big question is, why? Why is this happening right now? What's really fueling such a dramatic increase in cases?
Well, it turns out it's not just one thing. It's really a perfect storm of four key factors all hitting at once. First, you had the pandemic lockdowns, which literally trapped survivors at home with their abusers, making dangerous situations even worse. At the same time, you've got major economic stress, inflation, job losses that just added intense pressure to households. On top of that, Texas's population is booming, so the sheer number of people means more cases overall. And all of this is crashing down on a legal system that was already struggling, where protection orders were often delayed or not even enforced. It's a recipe for disaster. And as you can imagine, this surge has had absolutely devastating real-world consequences. We're talking about the entire support system, the very lifeline that's supposed to be there for survivors, being completely overwhelmed.
The first place you see this impact is in the shelters. Right now, they're reporting record high occupancy. The levels are way, way beyond the historical average. And what that really means is that for so many survivors desperately looking for safety, there's just nowhere left to turn.
The crisis is even more dire in rural parts of the state. Out there, survivors can face dangerously long waits, not just for a shelter bed, but even for a police response. It leaves them incredibly isolated and in extreme danger.
And this strain goes way beyond just shelters. The legal system itself is buckling under the pressure. The legal aid groups, the ones who are crucial for helping survivors get restraining orders and navigate complex custody cases, they're completely overwhelmed. This creates a huge bottleneck that can literally have life or death consequences.
So, in response to all of this, advocates are saying enough. They're not just asking for temporary fixes. They're demanding fundamental systemic change. They've outlined some really clear steps to not just manage this crisis, but to actually start preventing it.
So what's the game plan? Well, advocates are pushing for four key reforms. First, stronger bail restrictions to keep repeat offenders from being quickly released and going right back to their victims. Second, a major expansion of shelter capacity with a real focus on those underserved rural counties where resources are so scarce. Third, they're calling for stable, multi-year funding for prevention programs. This is a huge shift. It's about moving from just reacting to violence to addressing the root causes before it even starts. And finally, using technology, things like safety apps and GPS monitoring, to give survivors a modern set of tools to help protect themselves.
When you look at the whole picture, it all leads to one critical conclusion. What's happening in Texas is a massive wake-up call. Simply reacting with emergency responses isn't enough anymore. A whole new approach is needed. You hear that phrase, structural reform, and this is exactly what advocates mean by it. It's a full-court press, combining policy changes like those stricter bail laws, making real investments in housing, and maybe most importantly, creating a system that ensures abusers are actually held accountable. It's all about getting to the root of the problem, not just endlessly patching the symptoms.
So that leaves us with one final, pretty powerful question. What's the biggest risk if nothing changes? Well, the stakes couldn't be higher. We're talking about more preventable deaths and a future of more and more unsafe homes all across Texas.